Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having a great ending to your work week, a great start to your weekend. I got you an update on what's going on with this winter weather. It's hard to call it a winter storm yet because I think that you got to get pretty high up in elevation for this to actually hit winter storm criteria for a lot of folks. But there is winter storm watches up for all the mountains of North Carolina, just about, in some areas of Tennessee, and I believe some areas of Southwest Virginia also. I need to double check that. But regardless, we're here to give you some updated information. Really, one of the biggest things that's changed today is for those higher elevations. I would say the totals expected have dropped, especially in those mid-level elevations like Asheville and them small towns that sit between maybe 2 to 3,000 feet. I'm starting to think that 2 to 3,000 feet range ain't going to cut it. And I'm not here to try to give you guys bad information and bad news is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, guys, I'm running on fumes. I'm very tired. 8:03 is equivalent to like 11:30 at night to me. For you, just to give you an idea of how early I go to sleep and how early I wake up. But we're here to give you some new information. The area that I've been kind of talking about that could get a sneaky burst of snow, like from North Alabama or the Cumberland Plateau all the way through North Alabama, through maybe North Georgia, upstate South Carolina, triad of North Carolina, Piedmont. That hasn't really changed. I would say, I still think there's a chance. Just like I said in this morning's video and last night's video. But really those areas that, we're supposed to get a big time, probably heavy, wet snow, it's a little bit more in question this evening. So we'll talk about it. And then towards the end of the video, we'll give you an update. Guys, I really think we're about to enter a very active stretch. I think we could have some dangerous weather next week with a big time trough ejection that is going to blast across the middle of the country. And it's going to rip up a gigantic moist sector, low level jet, all the dynamics for maybe 2 days worth of some nasty severe weather next week. But we're going to gradually switch to that as we get to the later half of this week. And if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it. Let's get rolling, guys. A lack of energy, if you notice it. Like I said, I'm just a little tired tonight. I thought about just telling you guys, you know what, I'm just going to definitely not make a video tonight. But a lot of people are wondering, hey, has anything changed? And it has. So I thought, we need to jump on here and talk about this. So here it is. If we actually look at this upper trough that's beginning to get cut off, it already is, and you're actually getting some snow falling into eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas. We mentioned that last night into this morning that it was possible, and there's actual reports of this accumulating on the surface, even on some roads out here. And this is it. It still has that positive tilt to it, but it will begin to close off tonight. If you see it kind of doing like this right into here, this will eventually make its way and then become negatively tilted and definitely bring some pretty heavy precipitation into the southeast and be just kind of kickstart this washout of a weekend that we are expecting. I can tell you for a lot of the southeast for our Friday, it was not near as bad as what we were originally thinking was going to be. I mentioned many times earlier in the week that I thought Friday was going to be a washout for a lot of people. And it definitely was, and I was dead wrong on that. But you know what's wild? You look at watches and warnings, and there's winter storm watches up for all of the mountains of North Carolina except the far southwest counties of North Carolina. No winter storm watches up for North Georgia, and they're only up for Tennessee and the higher elevations of these bordering counties, of these far eastern bordering counties of the North Carolina-Tennessee line. One county into southwest Virginia that has a winter storm watch. So we'll see who gets upgraded to a warning. Tricky situation. Flood watch is up down here in southwest Georgia and the panhandle of Florida. But what's wild is what's going on right now. Okay, this is this upper level low spinning right into here in areas of Arkansas and Oklahoma. You click on this, it says snow accumulating on roads and sidewalks. So this is falling heavy enough to and kind of burst. It's falling heavy enough to be accumulating in some of these areas. If you go down here to just north of Dallas, you're getting occasional reports of sleet and maybe a snow-sleet mix, a rain-snow mix. So pretty wild. So we'll continue to watch how this is going to unfold, what it means downstream as this kind of digs into this area over here. We might be waking up to kind of the same deal in Mississippi or areas of Louisiana, maybe Alabama as we're getting later in the afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we wake up tomorrow morning with a rain-snow mix in areas of Mississippi. Do not be surprised one bit in Mississippi. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a burst of heavy snow. It just, these upper level lows, sometimes, man, they can do some crazy stuff. And as you can tell, we go throughout the night, and this will try to spin into Louisiana. This might go into Mississippi, it might be in Louisiana, but you might wake up tomorrow morning and, some of this rain around Shreveport, it could very well mix with a little bit of snow. I doubt it, but it could happen. I'm just letting you know. The southeast, okay, we can only look at the latest HRRR model, which unfortunately was about 5 or 6 hours ago, because the next one is literally about to come out in about an hour. So we'll see I don't think much is going to change. I think the HRRR model is doing a great job of reflecting elevation. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So we'll keep this going. We're getting into Saturday morning. Here comes the heavy moisture beginning to bubble up out the Gulf of Mexico. This begins to really hit Birmingham, most of the state of Alabama. This begins to move up into Georgia. Starts raining in Atlanta, Georgia, probably around midday tomorrow. This moisture will begin to overspread and get into the southern Appalachian Mountains. This is some pretty heavy precipitation in the North Georgia. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those higher mountain peaks, 3,000 to 4,000 feet up in the air, are mixing with snow. But there's two areas. There's this area of precipitation, and then there's this area. I know you're thinking, well, they look attached to me, Mitch, but it's a 1-2 punch. This is the main push. This is that deformation band, that upper level low moisture. Okay, so I would not be surprised you keep this moving if, maybe the middle of the night tomorrow night, I'm talking 11 p.m., anywhere from 11 to 2 a.m. in the morning. So somewhere, into the wee hours of the morning, Sunday morning, somebody could mix with a burst of snow here in Alabama. It might happen in the middle of the night. I think it could happen in the Cumberland Plateau, but don't let this surprise you. In fact, you go on and zoom in to the southern Appalachian Mountains, and we'll take it all the way to about 2 a.m., 1 a.m. Central Time. Look at these little areas in blue. The Cumberland Plateau and this little higher elevation area that kind of extends into North Alabama right here near Huntsville. That's trying to pick up on a mixture of rain and snow. I think it's very possible, even down here. Okay? There's a little area that has some hills right in here. You could mix with some snow, even though it shows just green and yellow for rain and heavy rain. You can mix with snow with this backside deformation band that is associated with this upper level low. So I'll back it up a little bit. This really begins to move fully over the southern Appalachian Mountains. One thing you'll notice, Asheville, it's still raining. Basically, elevations below 2,500 feet are probably still raining. Okay, and you see this pink here, I would argue that this is probably heavy snow in the higher elevations, 4,000 or 5,000 feet up in the air. But that mid-level elevation, 2,000, 3,000, 3,500 feet, you're gonna mix a lot. This front end thumping, I really think that it's not so much of a thump anymore. I really think you're gonna have to wait until this backside moisture begins to pivot through. More cold air aloft. There's colder air above our heads. The temperatures at the surface might not change much, but just above our heads, it cools down. With here, you're dealing with some warm air aloft because you have a low pressure nearby. And that's why their HRRR model in the middle of the night tomorrow night showing a bunch of mixing. But as we're getting into, Sunday morning, first off, you see freezing rain and sleet, even in the higher elevations. But look at this little spin. And look at this. In the Cumberland Plateau, you switch from rain to heavy snow based off the HRRR model. This could change in the next one that comes out. But the Cumberland Plateau of Tennessee could be in for a surprise. Maybe even areas of North Alabama. We're waking up, it's about 8, 9 in the morning. This is where more cold air aloft is associated with this precipitation right here. This, not so much. It's cold enough in the mountains of Virginia to, you're getting some frozen precipitation. But look at this. As we're waking up Sunday morning, cold air aloft begins to move through, and you could switch from rain to maybe a burst of snow near Greenville, Spartanburg. I'd still think it's possible. And look at the southwest mountains of North Carolina. This is when I think you could get 1 to 2 inch per hour rates sometime. I think this is when you'll get most of your snow. Okay, but look at the valley. You guys from Chattanooga all the way up to Knoxville, anybody in between, I just think this is going to stay mainly rain. But it could switch to a burst of snow. I know a lot of people in this region, and they're already disappointed. But, if you live in the valley between the Cumberland Plateau and the mountains of Tennessee, do not expect a big winter storm out of this. I think you might see some. I think you definitely will see some snow at the back end of this as we're getting into Sunday afternoon. But man, the latest HRRR model wants to bring a band of heavy snow into southeast Kentucky. You stop this. This is about midday at this point, and this is the last frame we can look at. It's about midday. That elevation is helping you guys right into here. Okay, based off what the HRRR model's saying. And then it's still snowing in the mountains, really mainly in North Carolina. And then the higher elevations of the mountains of Tennessee, like the Smokies, I think will, Mount LeConte, I certainly think that, could get several inches of snow out of this. But this is the last frame. If I was to keep this going, I can almost guarantee you that this would switch to more so snow here, probably for at least a period Sunday evening, even for the valleys of Tennessee. So I think the National Weather Service, has been conservative, and I think they've done an excellent job at being conservative. It is picking up on the possibility for a little accumulating snow in the Cumberland Plateau. I think that this could bust high potentially, especially if you base it off this short-range model guidance. But if you look how spotty this is in the North Carolina mountains, this is because it's trying to pick up on elevation. So, you look at this, and we'll zoom into the National Weather Service in Greenville, the latest update. Brevard, maybe 2 to 3 inches of snow. Which isn't a very long drive, but Asheville, barely an inch. Because Asheville sits a little bit lower, but you don't have to go far up the road to go a couple thousand feet up in the air. And, right here, you see this area in yellow and orange, 8 to 12 inches of snow. That's probably the Mount Mitchell area and those higher elevations right in there, and the highlands. And then you come down here with some higher elevations down here in southwest North Carolina will be favored for some heavy snow. But if you're living in one of these little mountain towns that only sit maybe, 2,000 feet, 1,500 feet up in the air, you're going to struggle until maybe you get into Sunday evening. Waynesville's saying about 3 inches of snow. So if you pick kind of the Maggie Valley area, I think you're going to get accumulating snow. Maybe not as much as we were thinking yesterday, but I think it's still possible. Up here in Blacksburg, Virginia, the National Weather Service, you got to be higher up to even get a taste of accumulating snow. If you're in these valleys, it's saying nada. Okay. So that's the update on that. I know it wasn't very long, but honestly, guys, tomorrow begins a more of a now thing. You got to watch what's going to happen with the upper level low. And I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. I think there'll be some irritated people. But listen, these upper level lows can surprise. And like I said, I'm still going to stick to my guns somewhere in North Alabama, the Cumberland Plateau, somewhere in North Georgia, upstate of South Carolina, far upstate. I'm talking about like the Clemson area. Somewhere up there could switch to a period of snow. I definitely think it's possible. So this is what we're watching. We're getting into next week. We get a big low pressure that develops right here, a big time boundary of warm and moist air, and then cold and dry air. They clash. Low pressure develops on the boundary of this upper trough, ejects across the middle of the country, and I think you'll have a severe weather event sometime Wednesday, and then again on Thursday. And this is a moving air mass. There's going to be a ton of kinematics with this, I think. A lot of wind energy, huge moist sector. Dew points are going to rise well into the 60s, probably into the 70s somewhere. So just like we always know with this, whoever gets the best overlapping dynamics is going to get the worst severe weather. Who's going to see the best kinematics with thermodynamics? That's when your tornado chances is going to be. I think we could have a severe weather outbreak next week, either Wednesday or Thursday. I'm likely going to chase one of them, probably Thursday, just because it's going to be closer to home. So stay tuned with that. Be my first probably long. I'm actually going to get my Mazda in the shop probably Sunday, but it'll be my first long chase of the year. So stay tuned for that. Something could happen where it might mess up the plans. If it does, it does. It's life. But I will plan on probably chasing this. This has the makings of a pretty nasty severe weather threat. And you can see why here, what happens here. Trough digs down. Here it comes out west. It digs down. It gets that neutral tilt, and it actually gets negatively tilted right here. So there's going to be a major winter storm up here also. So, yeah, guys, I mean, I hate to say it, but the South is going to be under the gun next week, okay? And, we look at day six for Wednesday, you already have a 15% risk of severe weather occurring. Day 7, which is pretty uncommon, pretty much rare, for next Thursday, look, Alabama, you're going to be under the gun. So we need to watch this. This will gradually become a bigger topic here in the next probably day or two. And we need to figure this out for you guys. So we'll get much more detailed about that. I know that wasn't detailed at all, but we'll get much more detail. And then as we get into these short-range model guidance, we'll definitely know what's going to happen. God bless everybody. Have a great night, and I'll be with you guys in the morning.